Are the Oklahoma Sooners a sinking ship?
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. The portal continues to heat up, especially as Oklahoma Sooners enter said portal. On Tuesday, the second official day of the transfer portal, a number of names, Jay, entered their name. Dasan McCullough, Jalil Farouk,
JJ Hester. You got Joshua Bates. I mean, it's just everybody's entering. And I told you all a week ago on this show, on my channel, we have given you this warning. We told you this was going to go down. John, we've talked about this. We told you that it was going to be a bloodbath, and not only us, but every team in college football is beginning to hemorrhage. The only ones that haven't started hemorrhaging yet really bad has been the playoff teams. And as soon as those playoff games happen, then they're going to hemorrhage. And then that's going to be the end of it, because then by post-Christmas, basically the Arms Force Bowl, whenever we play our bowl game, at that point, things are going to get to its dying points, and you'll still see a lot of visits throughout January and throughout the entire last portions of the playoffs. We're going to hear about it. But John, honestly, these portal entries kind of made sense. I think there was only one that was notable that threw me off a little bit, but I almost expected it, and that was Dasan McCullough.
Yeah, Dasan McCullough surprised me a little bit. It's the second most, the second notable portal entry that the Oklahoma Sooners have had in the last couple of days on the defensive side of the ball. You had Kenai Walker on Monday, who started a bunch of games for you this year, and then you had Dasan McCullough, who's been an impactful player for you over the last couple of years since his transfer from Indiana. He was one of the heroes of the goal line stand against Texas. So it did surprise me, especially considering he was a guy that looked to be in line for a bigger role in 2025 with Danny Stutzman heading off to the NFL. So that did surprise me a little bit. JJ Hester, it's hard to know exactly how to feel about JJ Hester. I feel like similarly to Bauer Sharp, a guy that just got overextended a little bit. If he was a wide receiver 3, a wide receiver 4 for you, then you're probably feeling good about where he's at. But as your wide receiver 1, it was just, again, an up and down roller coaster like it was for the rest of the offense. And I know he's your boy.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Him and Bauer Sharp were situations where those two guys should not have been your number 1 and number 2 options like that. They should have been components in your offense. Again, JJ Hester's got your 3 longest catches this season, 50, 60, and 90 yards. So he's the one guy. He's gotten us big plays this year in situations where we needed a big play. The LSU game, that last one he got, that was one of the bigger sparks of the offense, because we weren't getting anything done in the run game because LSU wasn't stupid. They decided to run a 4-man front. They started to stuff the run and say, Jackson Arnold, beat me with your arm. And so Jackson Arnold had to go launch it. When they moved the pocket, he just dusted him. And that's what you should have been doing more of. But you're right. I feel bad with JJ Hester because him and Bauer Sharp were asked to do a lot of things that they probably shouldn't have done. That's not a position that they were prepared to be in because the offense wasn't built around them doing that. They were built to being guys that sub in, do some stuff here and there, and play. More so with Bauer Sharp, it should have been Nick Anderson, Jay Gibson, with Deion Burks and Jalil Farouk really doing most of the work. And then he comes in there, scoots in at the middle, catch the middle of the pass. And then when you're subbing out Jaden Gibson, you toss in JJ Hester and say, hey, just go deep and we launch it. That's how your offense should have ran. But injuries did not allow that. So at this point, we'll talk about it real deep in the last segment around will the Sooners be okay? But y'all have to understand, George Stoya put out a tweet, and I think it was probably one of the better ones to kind of break down what we're dealing with here. And I'm going to read it to you real quick. OU has lost 4 receivers to the portal who combined this season for 22 receptions for 460 yards and 1 touchdown. That's just basically what you need to keep in mind. And then you add Bauer Sharp's, all of his team leading statistics there. Can we replace that? Is it possible? I mean,
Yes.
Looking at some of the guys in the portal we're looking at, half of them had that in one season by themselves. Not 4 combined, but 1. And that's no shade to the guys. It's just, it was unfortunate because they were dealing with injuries. Yeah. And so now we're looking at guys that are hopefully more healthy. And if they can play as healthy, and put it this way, if they can work as hard as the defense did and be as healthy as them, John, we shouldn't have any problems on offense going into next season, especially with this Arbuckle offense.
Yeah, the one that bums me out more than anything is the Jalil Farouk departure. Listen, he was hurt all year, was going to be a guy that I think was going to have a big year. With Jaden Gibson out for the season, with Nick Anderson starting the season injured, he would have had a great opportunity to be very, very productive. Had the one catch for 47 yards, gets injured, he's out, comes back for the Missouri game, has another couple of catches, goes back out again. And now he's out in the portal and he's going to have opportunities because he's a dude that can do a lot of different things for you in the offense. And it puts Oklahoma's wide receiver situation in a bit of a bind. You don't have a lot of production that you can lean on. Brennan Thompson is the guy coming back, and Deion Burks, those two guys coming back, they have your most production at the collegiate level. Yeah. Both guys are coming off of injuries or, the concussion in Deion Burks' case. So it's a weird place for Oklahoma to be right now. But with Ben Arbuckle coming in, you don't really know what the quarterback situation is going to look like just yet. It's kind of understandable that Oklahoma's offense might be hemorrhaging some guys right now, especially, again, as we've discussed, every team having to figure out a way to get to that 105 roster limit. Every team's over. Yeah. Every team's going to have to trim some players. And listen, as much as I love Jalil Farouk and I believe in, or I've just been ecstatic about what he's provided in 2022 and 2023. Again, this was a guy that was a holdover from the Lincoln Riley era. Could have gone off to USC with Caleb Williams, but stuck around.
Yes.
Part of that Danny Stutzman, Ethan Downs, Woody Washington group of guys that you should have a lot of respect for at this point because he didn't bail. Now there's a lot of things. There's a lot of transition that's happened this year that makes it understandable as to why he might, and he dealt with some adversity as well. And who knows, maybe the offensive coordinator wants to go in a new direction with wide receivers. And it seems like that is the case. They want to kind of overhaul the group.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, if you're dealing with a group of players and haven't been able to play, wouldn't you typically go ahead and revamp that room? That makes the most sense to me too. Like, I think that's the strategy that people don't want to hear, is that the goal here is to clear out the players, clear out situations that weren't working. And, Nick Anderson's situation with health, then you go down the line with sounds like Jaden Gibson's probably going to stick around. We'll talk about that a little bit more with some of the offers that we've seen, but Jalil Farouk, he couldn't get healthy. And unfortunately, like I said, I appreciate what Jalil Farouk provided to us because he actually came to the team and he stuck around when Riley left. He was the one piece that kind of kept a lot of the guys together. And unfortunately, in the end, it didn't work out. And health was a key component there too. So he decides to go. JJ Hester, I think that he was more of a situation where he probably got processed. It was one of those, we're probably not gonna be able to keep you with what we're gonna have to bring in and what we currently have coming in. Because you got to think about the wide receiver room we have with from KJ Daniels to Zion Rajan to Zion Kearney to Ivan Carrion. You got those. You're bringing in additional wide receivers, Manny Choice, as well as Elijah Thomas. That's 6 wide receivers right there. That is freshman to true freshman, or redshirt freshman, or sophomore to freshman right there. Now you got Jaden Gibson. You add in Deion Burks. That's 8 wide receivers, and you're probably gonna have to bring in 3 more. That's 11. At a certain point, you got to run out of bodies. Oh yeah, you got Jacob Jordan on there too. Yeah, he's still on the roster. Right.
And he needs to be on the roster because there's another guy that when everything was not really going well for the Oklahoma Sooners offense, you had one guy that was finding a way to get open and make some plays in the passing game. So it's not over. As Jay mentioned earlier, you're going to have these playoff teams. As soon as they bow out, you're going to be seeing a lot of those names into the portal. You've already seen some guys that are on playoff teams enter the transfer portal. And so when those teams get eliminated, it's going to insert a whole new group of talented players into the portal. So we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but it's not time to panic about the portal just yet. Oklahoma is making some offers in the transfer portal. Let's discuss coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.
Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. So when you look at these odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, you'll see everything you need in there for live bets and everything with the NFL. So like, for example, Thursday night, you've got the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams. They're playing, and the Niners are a 2.5-point favorite. You think you want the dog? The Rams look pretty solid this weekend. You can get them at +2.5. And if you bet $5 and you win, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. So go to FanDuel.com, make that bet, win that $5 bet, get your $150 in bonus bets, and you'll be able to enjoy the spoils. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners are busy in the transfer portal. A really interesting offer that they made on Tuesday was one David Blay, defensive tackle out of Louisiana Tech, had 6 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, led the Bulldogs in sacks at defensive tackle. 6'4", 303 pounds. You're losing Dejon Terry out of your defensive tackle rotation. This might be a really, really nice replacement for that.
Yeah, I like the pickup on the size. It's what you're looking for. A nice big guy to fill the hole, to go along with your Jaden Jackson, to go along with your David Stone, to go along with your Grayson Halton. We've got a nice young batch. Well, I say G-Baby's more your veteran at this point, but you've got some good in the middle guys. All you need to do now is add maybe 1 or 2 really big dudes that can come in and just stuff. They're going to be part of the big rotation. They may get 200 snaps all season long, but the whole purpose of having big guys like that, what Todd Bates is going to want to do is put those guys in the middle and say, stop that run. Jaden Jackson has already shown that he has capabilities as a true freshman All-American. You're going to want more of that. And I love that offer because it's another big body that could have some definite potential going forward, especially the fact that, John, I looked at his stats. I think the one thing that jumped out to me, he had, 6 sacks as an interior defensive lineman? That don't happen very often, guys. That's not common. Go look at Jalen Carter's number. I think Jalen Carter got drafted in the top 10 in the NFL draft for the Eagles, the Georgia Bulldog. He didn't have 6 sacks in the interior. But he was drafted top 10. Why? Because he was disruptive. And Jaden Jackson's going to be the exact same situation. I'm going to be honest. I expect him to potentially get drafted as a first rounder based upon if he continues this and knock on wood stays healthy. But you need disruptors. And I like this offer a lot because of that.
Interesting that he's been a productive guy at Louisiana Tech. I know people are going to be like, oh, it's just Louisiana Tech. Well, here's what he did against Arkansas. 6 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. Against North Carolina State, 2 total tackles and a tackle for loss. So this is a guy that, again, he's productive against his level of competition. He's productive when asked to step up in competition against a team like Arkansas. Again, an Arkansas team that beat Tennessee and gave some other teams some fits. So let's not just poo-poo on Arkansas. This David Blay might be a really interesting addition if Todd Bates and the Oklahoma Sooners are able to pull that off. I think, again, you add to that or add to what Oklahoma's got at defensive tackle already. And I think that's a really, really nice rotation you go into 2025 with. The Oklahoma Sooners are still pursuing wide receivers. There's maybe a little bit of buzz about a guy like Chase Sowell, East Carolina University, a guy that started his career at Colorado after 1 year before Dion gets there, transfers to East Carolina, has 2 very productive years with over 600 yards receiving for the Pirates, Jay.
Yeah, I like him too because, John, I've noticed a trend. I'm not sure if you recognize this, but the thing is, nothing really gets over your head. So I bet you immediately saw it the minute that it flew right there past your head. You can pretend like you didn't see it, but you got it. That dude's 6'4". Another one. So the trend here I'm seeing is that what Emmett Jones and Ben Arbuckle are looking for are ginormous wide receivers that are productive. Dynamic. We'll take that too. Right?
Dynamic wide receivers.
The best part about it is that they're going after guys that have shown production.
Yes.
They're not going after them only ones that have, I think that the only one that hasn't shown a lot of production has been Trey Spivey, but at Kansas State, but he's also young. He's a true freshman, and I don't think he got an offer yet, but I think we're probably going to consider him. But the good thing is that there is a substantial amount of wide receiver talent in the portal right now. So you kind of get your pick based upon what you actually want. So I do like this Chase one because even better, Derek Blaylock, the former NFL player, the father of Torrey Blaylock, pointed out that they're related, like actual first cousins. So that may be a connection piece there. So you got Reggie Virgil, who was friends with Jaden Gibson, grew up not too far from each other. Then you got Chase, who's related to Torrey Blaylock. You bring them all together. Bring a family environment of guys that are actually athletic and can play. I'm hoping that it works out. I just would like to see a whole bunch of these 6'4" dudes out there, and we actually put them to work.
I think what's interesting about it is you're seeing them go after guys with production.
Yes.
And I think that's the intriguing part. Listen, you've got young guys with a lot of potential, a lot of promise on your roster that you want to continue to develop. And it's like we discussed when we talked about the cornerback room. You don't need to bring in a whole bunch of guys that haven't produced. Like, you might like your evaluation on them, but you can't bring in another guy that you need to develop. You've got to provide those developmental snaps to your young guys that you already have in house. You need guys that can go out there and be starters for you at wide receiver right now. You need a defensive tackle that can come in and replace Dejon Terry's snaps right now. I like what they're doing because with the new roster limitations, you don't have a whole lot of room for just stockpiling a bunch of guys for developmental sake if you're trying to win. And if you're Oklahoma, after a 6-6 season, you're 100% trying to stockpile as much talent as you possibly can to go win next year. You've got to improve next year. There's no room for another 500 season under Brent Venables in 2025. So, and with Ben Arbuckle, and as you're trying to pursue quarterbacks, you've got to show you've got a wide receiver group that a quarterback's going to want to throw to. And the quarterback market is very interesting right now. There's a lot to be intrigued by. And that's not even considering John Mateer, who's not he's not in the portal yet. He's planning to play in the bowl game for Washington State. So that might come down the road, but it might not. He might not be an option in the portal. So there's going to be a lot of names for Oklahoma to evaluate in the quarterback market, but you got to get some of these wide receiver situations figured out too.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to find the ones that make the most sense. Let's put it this way. Whoever you're getting right now, you put them around Michael Hawkins. This is what your focus is. Your focus is that Michael Hawkins is your quarterback. We're about to see Michael Hawkins play against Navy in this bowl game. You put players around Michael Hawkins and go from there. And then we'll see what happens. And the fact that Michael can run, the fact that Michael's going to look even more comfortable in an offense where a lot of decisions will be made for him and he can really be free. I think that you're going to see a explosion in his ability going forward. Heck, he may win the job going forward. Like, I'm not even going to, deny that. I know initially the plan was to have him redshirt and then come in and try to steal the job. Not steal the job, but win the job as a redshirt freshman. But heck, he may go out there as a true sophomore and take it. We'll see. But you're right. There's going to be quarterbacks. There are quarterbacks available now. We're seeing them all go a lot of different places. But if there's anything I can say here is, every wide receiver we're going after now, we're focusing on getting big, tall dudes that will work good in Arbuckle's system for Michael Hawkins. That's who we focus on today. And if anybody else shows up, yay.
And who knows? We don't know what Ben Arbuckle's thoughts of Michael Hawkins are. He might look at what Michael Hawkins has done in his short time at the collegiate level, go back to his high school tape and say, listen, that's a quarterback I can win it with. I can go and build my team around him.
Yep.
I'm not going to put it past Michael Hawkins. He's shown something. He's shown he needs to continue to develop, but he's shown he's got some skills that can win you football games. See the Auburn game. See the second half of the Tennessee game. He can be a productive player. You just got to get some things right around him. And I think, like you said, that's a good focus for Oklahoma to have. Will the Oklahoma Sooners be okay? Because there's a lot of panic out there right now. Let's discuss coming up next, Sean, Locked On Sooners. Today's episode is also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's $50 off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're just over 170 subscribers from 10,000. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell over on YouTube to let you know when new episodes drop. Also tell a friend, tell a family member about Locked On Sooners. I've had a number of people that I'm acquainted with here recently, like through wives and stuff like that I work with at the hospital, telling me, oh, my husband listens to your show. My husband, what? You're just now telling me this? It's just weird. Anyway, so go subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast, but especially over on YouTube. Help us to get to 10,000. Jay, I've been seeing it on Facebook. I've been seeing it on X. I was at the eye doctor today, and the eye doctor was asking me about Oklahoma and all the transfer portal departures, and he had a little bit of panic in his voice talking about it. But Jay, what is up? We're 2 days into the official start of the transfer portal? Yes, Oklahoma is seeding a lot of dudes, but why are we so concerned about this?
I don't know why fans haven't recognized or don't trust us. John, I think it's a trust issue here. I believe that our listeners, our fans, our family here in the Soonerverse that listen to us and try to rely on our information, I don't think they trust us. This past season has scarred them. They are all jaded. They're terrified. They can't control or see what the future is. But John, something dropped today. Our guy, SEC Mike, put out his thing that he does every week, the weekly efficiency rating. John, do you know where we rate right now on the run efficiency this season?
I do, but why don't you go tell the people, Jay?
Number 2 in the country, number 1 in the SEC. That's what we were. Defensive plays, 20 plus yards, 44th in the country. It's a pretty good improvement from last year, right?
Really good.
Much better than what we actually anticipate. Did any of us think that our defensive pass efficiency, 34th, that is 6th in the SEC?
And that's pretty good.
That's pretty darn good. I mean, just having the number 2 rush efficiency, and it usually clears out a lot of your garbage time stuff. Our defense is solid. And guess what? We're bringing most of it back. We just did lose Dasan McCullough, unfortunately, but we've got that linebacker room is still there. You got Kip, Kobe. Looks like Canick's going to be around. You're going to have Lewis Carter, who's going to get some run now. Honestly, Dasan leaving means more Lewis Carter. That's my thought. Samuel Masigo. You're going to start seeing, with the edge room now clearing out, you're going to see more Daniel Koye go. More Nigel Smith get his run. So all the young guys that you all wanted to see, they're up. This is theirs. This is theirs to take. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to have to bring in portal guys just so that we have the depth to go along with the young players we brought in. But it's their time, John. And so to me, if the defense remains stout, we got a new offensive coordinator. It's basically like when Jeff Lebby came in. Mm-hmm. We're starting from scratch on that. You lost Caleb Williams. You lost all those components from what Mario Williams and all these players left on the offensive side of the ball. Basically, start over. You're getting that now replenished with Ben Arbuckle and whatever he brings in to go run out there on the field with his offense. So I'm going to give him his chance. We hired him for a reason. And if he continues to maintain, if he gives us half of what he did at Washington State, that puts us a top 40 offense in the country. Our defense is going to be able to run in the top 5s with no problem because they're not going to be on the field all the time. That means that somebody else is going to be on the field, John. So that is my woosah therapy moment to you, Sooner Nation. Trust us when we say it's going to be okay. Let's see it through. We can complain in January. Let's let December. Let's flush 2024.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day is going to be a pretty cathartic experience, I think, for Sooner Nation, where you can like literally turn the page on what 2024 has been for the football program, because it hasn't been good. And when you've gone 6-6 and it's been as bad as it was this year, I can understand a little bit of the trepidation that Sooner Nation is feeling as you see some of your favorites enter the transfer portal. As you see guys like Dasan McCullough and Jalil Farouk and Nick Anderson and Jackson Arnold, and you see these guys depart and you're like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, the plan is already in motion. They're already hosting guys to replace these guys. And I get, like, I have an attachment to Jalil Farouk. That's one of my favorite players that we've had over the last few years. I thought he absolutely balled against Texas each of the last 2 years, even in the 49-0 shutout. Who balled out? Jalil Farouk. He had a really good game. In 2023, he had 2 really big plays, one before halftime that led to a field goal, and then one on that final drive that helped set up the game-winning touchdown. Huge moments, and he came through for you. It sucks to see these guys leave. Again, there's a process that'll play out, and there's time for it to play out because, again, you've got a lot of teams, the top 12 teams in the country, who are still playing for something. And those guys, those teams might lose some players that Oklahoma might be interested in here in a few weeks. So what you're looking at as far as players available in the portal now is going to be vastly different here in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. By the time you get to the portal closing period, you're going to have a lot of talent for Oklahoma to look at and to consider. And so, listen, this year has not been good. It can get better. And even if you don't have a top 5 offense, with the defense that you have that Jay just talked about and Jay just illustrated, you have a chance to still be one of the best teams. Maybe I would say, let's just move up to the top half of the SEC. You have a chance to be a top 7 or 8 team in the SEC at the bare minimum if you get an above average offense.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need. We've put the production out there. We've done it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, especially with the fact that we got all these all SEC honors, which we'll talk about that tomorrow. I think that's a great thing to lead the day off, especially we'll have a bunch of portal departures tomorrow too. Don't worry. You're going to have those numbers as well, but we're winning honors. We're being recognized. We had the true freshman All-Americans with on 3. I know that PFF and all of them are about to put out their All-Americans for like true freshmen and all of that stuff. It's award season right now, so we can definitely celebrate that stuff. But the thing to understand, Sooner Nation, is that no matter how bad you think it is, it ain't. No matter how good you think it is, it ain't. It's usually right there in the middle of all of that. We're going to be fine. Let Arbuckle, Emmett Jones, DeMarco Murray, Joe John Finley, let all of them cook. Bill Bedenbaugh, let them cook. Let them cook. When they're done cooking, we can come back and see what's in the kitchen. But let them cook first. Then you can complain in January.
That's right. You can complain about the meal before you see what the ingredients are going to be, or you can wait till the meal's cooked and then you can decide what it's going to look like. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Again, just over 170 subscribers on YouTube from 10,000. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell over there to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. Follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. Boop-a-da-ba-da-ba.